All right, let's jump right in. Picture this. You've built your life around routine. Everything is predictable, everything is safe, you've walled yourself off from all the chaos of the world. And then one day, just an ordinary Tuesday, a single letter shows up. And this letter, it doesn't just throw a wrench in your plans, it completely shatters the world you thought you had under control. So this is the world of a guy named Marin Lazar. Now Marin, he's an interesting character. He used to be a professor of moral philosophy, but now he just translates technical manuals. He's created this quiet, kind of cynical little bubble for himself, where Tuesdays, especially, are his safe day. Nothing ever happens on a Tuesday. He's totally convinced he's escaped his past and all those complicated, messy questions about right and wrong he used to wrestle with. But of course, this Tuesday is different. The letter in his mailbox? It's not a bill, it's not junk mail, it's a jury summons. Now, think about that. For a man who has made it his life's mission to stop making moral judgments, this is more than just an inconvenience. It's a cosmic joke, right? And it's about to drag him kicking and screaming right back into the very past he tried so hard to bury. And here's the kicker. This isn't just some random case, some fender bender or whatever. No. The summons is for a very specific person. A name. A name he recognizes. A name from a life he lived 26 years ago. Vera Katić. He remembers her. She was a former student of his, one who was so brilliant, so sharp, that she challenged everything he thought he knew about philosophy. And now, suddenly, Marin, the guy who literally walked away from his career because he couldn't handle making moral judgments anymore, is now legally required to sit on a jury and pass judgment on her, the one person who embodies all the complexity he ran away from. You just can't make this stuff up. So we move into the courtroom, and this place, it becomes the stage where this whole buried past is about to play out. From the very beginning, as the trial kicks off, two completely different stories about what happened on the night of March 17th are laid out, and they could not be more different. Okay, so here are the two sides. The prosecution, they're painting a picture of a cold, calculated murder, a clear decision. But the defense, they're telling a story of pure desperation. They say this was the absolute last resort for a woman who had no other way out. And that's the real heart of it, you see. Nobody's arguing if she did it. She admits it. The whole case boils down to one single question: why? And it all hinges on this one single statement. When the police showed up, the only thing Vera said was this weirdly cryptic phrase: he was going to continue. Now, the prosecution jumps on that. They say, aha, see, that's premeditation. She decided to end it. But the defense sees it totally differently. They argue it's the key to her state of mind. She wasn't ending him, she was stopping something unbearable, something that was going to continue forever. So the meaning of that one little word, continue, well, that becomes the entire battleground. So to understand that word, the trial has to shift gears. We move away from the act itself, and we start digging into the history that led up to it. And what they uncover is, well, it's a really grim picture of escalating abuse. This is the context for everything. First, we hear from the people on the sidelines, the bystanders. There's a neighbor who admits he heard shouting and quiet crying through the floorboards a few times a week, but he just told himself it's not my business. Then there's a coworker who saw how Vera would just kind of shrink, become smaller whenever her partner was around. But when asked why she didn't do anything, she just confessed it was easier not to. And their testimony paints this really chilling picture of abuse that people could see and could hear, but everyone chose to ignore. And then there's the physical evidence, a timeline that's just devastating. You can track it. Every single time Vera tried to leave, the violence got worse. The first time, a fractured wrist. Later, an attempt lands her in the hospital with 2 cracked ribs. You see the pattern here? This isn't about random flashes of anger. This is calculated control. The message is clear. The punishment for trying to be free will get more and more brutal. Then a forensic pathologist takes the stand and says something that just hangs in the air. He says that her body had become a map of the violence. All the old bruises fading under new ones, the scars, they formed a literal physical record of everything she had endured. Her own skin was the most powerful piece of evidence in the room, telling a story of a long, systematic assault. But the physical scars are only half the story. The trial then takes a major turn when Vera herself takes the stand. And she starts to explain the psychological reality of her situation. She describes a kind of prison, one that had no physical bars. And this is where we get to the question that I'm sure is on your mind, because it's on everyone's mind in that courtroom. The prosecutor asks it flat out. It seems so simple, so logical. If it was that bad, why didn't you just leave? And Vera's answer is just profound. She says, a door is not only a physical object. A door is a concept. She explains that when you're in that situation, a door stops being just an exit. It becomes the symbol of something that feels completely impossible. It's not blocked by a lock and key. It's blocked by a wall that's been built inside your own head. And this is the real core of her testimony. She says, the hallway is not in the apartment. The hallway is in you. Think about that. She's saying the real prison wasn't the physical space she lived in. It was a hallway built inside her own mind, constructed out of fear and manipulation and constant control. It explains how escape can feel utterly impossible, even when you're literally just a few feet from the front door. So how does someone build a prison like that inside another person's mind? Well, Vera lays it out, step by step. It wasn't just violence, it was a system. It started small, with little corrections and criticisms designed to make her feel less than. Then came the arguments, framed with cold reason to justify his control. Then he isolated her from friends, from family, from any support. And the final terrible step? He made her believe the violence was her fault. See, she wasn't just a prisoner in this system. She was manipulated into becoming the architect of her own cell. All right, so this brings us to the end of the trial, the closing arguments. And this is where these two incredibly powerful, totally competing stories get boiled down to their essence. And they leave the jury, and really they leave us, with a truly impossible choice. The prosecution's argument is sharp, and it's based on principle. They say, suffering does not confer the right to kill. That is revenge, not law. It's a powerful point. But then the defense comes back with a question that challenges the entire system. They say, an instrument that cannot produce justice in a case like this is broken. Basically, if the law can't protect someone like Vera and can't offer her justice, then what good is it? And that's where we're left. We're sitting right there in the jury box with Marin Lazar. We're faced with this final, unanswerable question. What is justice when the only choice is between a crime and a continuation? When all the other doors have been closed, what does justice even look like? That's the question. And it's a heavy one.